The first thing you should know is that Tessa Whitaker did not mean to wrap her legs around my waist. The second thing you should know is that when she did, in the deep end of the old municipal pool, with both arms locked around my neck and her wet cheek pressed against mine, my entire life made a sharp, inconvenient turn. And the third thing you should know? Her sister, my ex-fiancée, was standing at the glass doors watching us. I'm Owen Callahan. I was 26 that summer, teaching adult swim lessons at the same community center where I'd learned to swim as a kid. It wasn't glamorous work, but it paid my rent, kept me outside, and gave me something simple to believe in. You showed people they could survive in water. Most days, that was enough. After my engagement to Lauren Whitaker ended, I had become a man of routines. Early laps, coffee from the place with the burned muffins, work, dinner alone, bed before I could start wondering whether love was supposed to feel like a negotiation you kept losing. Lauren and I hadn't ended in some screaming disaster. Honestly, screaming might have been cleaner. She had simply looked at me one night across our half-packed apartment and said, "I think we're good on paper." That was how she ended a 4-year relationship. Good on paper. I moved out 2 weeks later. I hadn't seen Tessa since the breakup. She was Lauren's younger sister, 24, a freelance illustrator with a laugh that always arrived half a second before she did. Back when I was engaged, she was the one who made family dinners bearable. She teased me for overcooking steak, stole fries off my plate, and once told me I had responsible golden retriever energy, which I still don't know if I should have been offended by. I never looked at her the way a man looks at a woman. Not then. Or maybe I had, once or twice, and buried it so fast I convinced myself it hadn't happened. That Tuesday evening, I was coiling lane ropes after a kids' class when I heard someone behind me say, "Please tell me adults are allowed to be embarrassingly terrible here." I turned. Tessa stood by the gate in denim shorts, a white linen shirt tied over a navy one-piece, and sunglasses pushed into her wet-looking dark hair even though she hadn't been near the pool yet. She had a canvas tote on one shoulder and the expression of someone trying very hard to make a joke before courage left the building. For a second, I forgot how to be normal. "Tessa." "Owen." She smiled, but it wobbled. "You got taller." "I'm the same height." Then I got more intimidated. I laughed before I could stop myself. It had been months since anything had surprised a real laugh out of me. "What are you doing here?" I asked. She lifted one shoulder. "Learning how not to drown." The joke landed lightly, but her fingers were clenched around the strap of her tote. I glanced toward the shallow end. "You never learned?" "I learned how to sit on pool steps with a popsicle and judge everyone else's form. That's a useful skill." "I was elite." There she was. The same quick spark. But beneath it something trembled. I leaned one hip against the lifeguard stand. "Why now?" Tessa looked at the water, not at me. The evening sun laid bright strips across the surface, turning the pool into something almost beautiful. "My friend booked a lake cabin for her birthday next month," she said. "Everyone's swimming. Paddleboards, docks, all that wholesome nightmare material." She swallowed. I almost said no, then I got mad that I was still arranging my life around fear. That hit me harder than I expected. I knew what it was to arrange a life around something you didn't want to name. "You came to the right place," I said. Her eyes flicked back to mine. "Even though I'm Lauren's sister?" There it was, the fence between us. I looked down at the wet concrete. "That depends." "Did Lauren send you?" Tessa made a face. "Absolutely not. Lauren thinks chlorine is what happens to poor people." I snorted. "And before you ask," she added, softer now, "I didn't come to dig up anything. I know things ended badly." "They ended politely," I said. "Which is somehow worse." Her expression changed. Not pity. Something more careful. "I thought so," she said. The pool suddenly felt too quiet. I should have handed her off to another instructor. That would have been clean, appropriate, smart. Instead, I heard myself say, "First lesson is free." Her mouth curved. "Because I'm a Whitaker?" "Because you insulted your sister in a way I found professionally healing." That laugh of hers came out full this time, bright enough to make two teenagers near the vending machines glance over. I grabbed a kickboard and nodded toward the locker rooms. Go change, we'll start in the shallow end. She saluted me. Yes, coach responsible golden retriever. Careful, I have a whistle now. Terrifying! 10 minutes later, she came out barefoot with a towel clutched around her shoulders. The navy suit was simple, not showy, but I still had to remind myself that looking once was human and looking twice was a decision. I chose professionalism. Mostly. We started on the steps. Tessa sat with water up to her waist, gripping the rail like it had personally promised not to betray her. You're going to think this is stupid, she said. I teach 6-year-olds who threaten to sue me because water got in their ears. Good, I'm more legally sophisticated than that. Excellent, then we're ahead. I showed her how to blow bubbles, how to keep her shoulders loose, how to trust her lungs. She made a face every time water touched her chin, then glared at me like it was my fault. You said this would be dignified, she accused. I said you wouldn't drown. Different marketing. Bit by bit, the joke became focus. Her hand and mine loosened. Her breathing slowed. When she floated on her back for 3 full seconds, her eyes flew open in shock. I did it. You did. I was majestic. Like a very anxious otter. She splashed me. Not much, just enough. And I stood there, dripping, grinning at my ex's little sister like an idiot. That was the dangerous part. Not the water, not Lauren, not the history. It was how easy Tessa made warmth feel. By the end of the hour, she had floated, kicked with a board, and walked with me to where the pool floor sloped down toward 5 feet. She was flushed with effort, strands of hair stuck to her cheeks, proud in a way that made my chest ache. One more? She asked. You're tired. I'm brave now. You're brave and tired. Coward. I raised an eyebrow. Me? You're afraid I'll become your best student. You're my only student at 7 o'clock on a Tuesday. Still counts. I shouldn't have let her talk me into it. But she smiled at me, not grateful, not helpless, but challenging. And I liked that smile too much. We moved a little deeper. I stayed close, one hand open near her elbow, the other ready at her back. Kick to me, I said. 3 feet. That's it. She pushed off. For 2 seconds, she had it. Then her foot slipped past the slope. Her eyes widened. I can't touch. Tessa, I've got you. Panic moved faster than words. She lunged forward, grabbed my shoulders, and before I could steady us, her legs locked around my waist. The whole pool went silent in that strange way public places do when something suddenly feels private. Her arms were around my neck. My hands were at her back, keeping her above water. Her breath came fast against my cheek. I'm sorry, she whispered. You're okay, I said, my voice lower than I meant it to be. Her body was trembling, but she didn't let go right away. Neither did I. Then she pulled back just enough to look at me. Water clung to her lashes. Her face was inches from mine, and instead of fear, I saw something else arrive between us. Awareness. The kind you don't come back from clean. Owen, she said quietly. The glass doors behind her opened. I looked over her shoulder. Lauren stood there in a cream blazer, phone in one hand, staring at us like she'd walked into the wrong ending of her own story. For one ridiculous second, none of us moved. Tessa was still wrapped around me in the deep end. My hands were still braced at her waist and back. Lauren stood by the doors and clothes too expensive for a community pool, her gaze traveling from my face to her sister's bare legs locked around me. Then Tessa said very calmly, "This is not as scandalous as it looks." Lauren blinked. "It looks pretty scandalous. It's instructional scandal." I bit the inside of my cheek. Tessa loosened her legs immediately, embarrassment rushing pink across her face, helped her get her feet back under her on the submerged ledge, keeping one hand at her elbow until I knew she had balance. Lauren crossed her arms. I came by to talk to Owen. Tessa's chin lifted a fraction. About what? Private things. The old version of me would have stepped in fast, smoothed the moment over, managed Lauren's mood before it could become weather. But Tessa was standing beside me, wet and shaken, and trying not to look small in front of her sister. So I said, I'm working. Lauren's eyes snapped to mine, not angry exactly, surprised. You're teaching Tessa? Yes. Since when? Since an hour ago. Lauren looked at her sister. You didn't tell me. Tessa laughed once without humor. I didn't realize I needed clearance. That's not what I meant. It's usually what you mean. A silence fell, heavy with old family patterns I'd seen from the dinner table but never had the right to name. I cleared my throat. Lesson's over. Tessa needs to warm up. I'm fine, Tessa said quickly. Her teeth chattered on the lie. I reached for the towel on the chair and held it open without thinking. She hesitated, then stepped into it. I wrapped it around her shoulders, my fingers brushing the damp skin at the base of her neck. She went still. So did I. It was only a towel. A practical thing. Except her eyes lifted to mine, and for half a heartbeat, Lauren disappeared, the pool disappeared, everything disappeared, but Tessa's quiet inhale. She wanted me to notice. And God help me, I did. Lauren made a small sound. Wow! Tessa turned toward her. Don't. I didn't say anything. You said it with your face. Tess? No. Tessa tightened the towel around herself. You don't get to come here and make this weird. Lauren's mouth flattened. I came to ask Owen if we could talk, that's all. I stepped out of the pool and grabbed another towel, mostly to give my hands something to do. Water streamed off me onto the concrete. Lauren watched me with an expression I recognized too well. The one she wore when something she'd set down suddenly seemed valuable again because someone else had picked it up. There's nothing to talk about, I said. Her face changed. Owen. I kept my voice even. Not tonight. Tessa looked at me then, and there was gratitude there, yes, but also something warmer, like I had chosen a side she hadn't expected anyone to choose. Lauren exhaled. Fine, I'll call you. I won't answer. That was the first cruel thing I had ever said to her. It didn't feel good. It felt clean. Lauren turned and left through the glass doors, heels clicking against tile until the sound vanished. The pool hummed back to life around us. A lifeguard dragged a chair. Somewhere someone laughed too loudly near the lockers. Tessa stared after her sister. I'm sorry. You apologize a lot for other people. She looked down. Habit. I hated that answer. I wanted to ask who taught her that. I wanted to pull every one of those little habits out by the root. Instead, I said, come on, hot chocolate machine still works if you kick it. Her eyebrows lifted. Is this part of the swim curriculum? Advanced recovery. Very professional. World class. She smiled and the tightness in my chest eased. I waited outside the women's locker room while she changed. I told myself I was being polite. Really, I didn't want the night to end with Lauren's shadow over it. When Tessa came out, her hair was damp and curling at the ends, her linen shirt wrinkled over her shorts. She looked younger without the brave face, softer. The vending machine gave us 2 hot chocolates and 1 tragic packet of mini pretzels. We sat on the low wall outside the community center, the evening warm around us, pool lights glowing blue behind the glass. For a while, neither of us said anything. Then Tessa nudged my knee with hers. So, you won't answer? I glanced at her. No. Because of me? There was no coyness in the question. No game, just danger and hope standing very close together. I could have lied. I could have said it was because I was finally over Lauren, because the past was done, because boundaries mattered. All true. Not the whole truth. Partly, I said. Tessa's fingers tightened around her paper cup. I looked out at the empty parking lot. Mostly because when she walked in, my first thought wasn't about Lauren at all. What was it? I turned back to her. You were scared, I said, and I wanted her gone because you didn't need one more person making you feel foolish for needing help. Her throat moved. And then, I added quieter, I realized I wanted her gone because I didn't want to stop looking at you. The confession landed between us, too honest to take back. Tessa stared into her cup like it contained instructions. I forced a laugh. That's the part where you tell me I'm crossing every possible line. She looked up. You are. My stomach dropped. Then she added, I'm trying to decide how much I care. Heat moved through me, slow and impossible. Tessa. I know. She rubbed her thumb along the cup seam. Lauren, history. Family dinners from hell, all of it. She let out a breath. But I spent years watching you make room for everyone else. Even when no one made room for you. And tonight, for once, you made room for me. That's not enough reason to— I know. She cut me off gently. That's not the only reason. The parking lot light flickered above us. Her knee was still touching mine. What's the other reason? I asked. Tessa smiled, nervous but unmistakably bold. You look at me like I'm not someone's little sister. I couldn't answer. Because she was right. Because I was looking at her mouth. She noticed. Of course she noticed. Tessa Whitaker noticed everything. Are you going to kiss me? She asked. My pulse kicked hard. Do you want me to? Yes. Then softer, with that vulnerable shake beneath the bravery. But not if you're doing it because Lauren saw us. I set my cup down on the wall. Then I reached for her hand. Her fingers slid into mine like she had been thinking about it too. I'm doing it because I've wanted to since you called yourself an elite pool step judge, I said. She laughed under her breath. That was my best work. I know. I leaned in slowly enough for either of us to stop it. Neither of us did. The kiss was gentle at first. A question. A careful crossing of a line drawn by other people. Tessa tasted like vending machine chocolate and chlorine, and when her free hand touched my jaw, I felt that sharp turn again. The one that had started in the pool and was now aiming straight at the part of me I'd kept locked since Lauren. She pulled back first, barely. Her eyes opened. Well, she whispered. That seems dangerous. I smiled against her mouth. You're learning to swim. Danger's part of the package. Terrible slogan. Needs work. She kissed me again, quicker this time, like punctuation. Then she rested her forehead against mine. One condition, she said. Name it. You don't make me feel like a mistake tomorrow. I squeezed her hand. I won't. She searched my face, and whatever she found there made her shoulders loosen. Behind us, inside the community center, my phone began buzzing in my locker. Once. Twice. I didn't move. Tessa heard it. Her mouth curved. Not answering? Not tonight. Her smile turned real, and for the first time in months, so did mine. The next morning, I woke up to 14 missed calls. 9 from Lauren, 3 from a number I recognized as her mother's, 2 from my own mother, which meant the Whitaker family rumor machine had achieved interstate travel before breakfast. There was also 1 text from Tessa. Tessa, I am choosing to believe last night happened and was not a chlorine hallucination. I sat on the edge of my bed smiling like an idiot. Me. Definitely happened. Her reply came fast. Tessa, good. Because hallucination, you is an excellent kisser, and I was concerned about my standards. Me. Real me accepts the compliment. Tessa. Real me is hiding from my sister. The smile faded a little. Me. Do you need anything? 3 dots appeared. Vanished. Appeared again. Tessa. For you not to panic. I stared at that longer than I should have. Me? I'm not panicking. Tessa. Owen. Me. I'm managing a strong concern response. Tessa. Responsible golden retriever. Me. That phrase is becoming a legal burden. Tessa. Good. Pick me up at 6. I reread it twice. Me. For swim? Tessa. For dinner. Unless you only kiss women beside vending machines. The apartment went quiet around me. Too quiet. My first instinct was to do the noble thing, which was usually just fear dressed up in decent clothes. Tell her we should slow down. Tell her it was complicated. Tell her Lauren had called enough times to prove this was already becoming a mess. But then I remembered Tessa on the wall outside the pool, asking me not to make her feel like a mistake tomorrow. I typed back before I could talk myself out of it. Me. 6. I'm taking you somewhere with better hot chocolate. Tessa. Ambitious. At 5:58, I pulled up outside her apartment with damp hair, clean jeans, and the uneasy knowledge that I hadn't been on a first date in 4 years. Tessa came out wearing a green sundress and white sneakers, her hair loose over her shoulders. She paused when she saw me leaning against my truck. What? She asked. I hadn't realized I was staring. You look beautiful. Her confidence flickered, not gone, just startled. Oh, too much? No. She crossed the sidewalk toward me. Just direct. I can be vague if that helps. Please don't. When she reached me, neither of us moved for a second. There was no pool, no panic, no excuse for touching, just evening sun and the choice of it. So I chose. I took her hand. Tessa looked down at our joined fingers, then up at me. Bold. I'm trying something new. Honesty? Public hand-holding. She grinned. Scandalous. Dinner was a taco truck parked beside the river because every restaurant I knew either held memories of Lauren or required a reservation I hadn't made. We sat at a picnic table with paper plates and glass bottles of soda, watching kayaks drift under the bridge. This is better than hot chocolate, Tessa admitted. I was aiming high. You were aiming at tacos? Never underestimate a man with a plan. She picked cilantro off her taco and dropped it onto my plate. I looked at it. Is this a test? It's a gift. Feels hostile. You'll survive. I teach swimming, not herbal warfare. She laughed, and I felt it low in my chest, like something warm opening. For a while, the date was easy. We talked about her illustration work, children's books, local business logos, one alarming commission involving a cat dressed as a pirate. I told her about the pool, about the kids who swam like fearless frogs, and the adults who apologized for being afraid. Adults always apologize for fear, she said. You did. I'm very adult. You wrapped yourself around me like a koala. Her cheeks went pink. Aquatic koala, different species. Rare, endangered. Handsome instructors are their natural predators. I nearly choked on my soda. Tessa smiled into her taco like she hadn't just knocked the air out of me. Halfway through dinner, my phone buzzed on the table. Lauren. I silenced it. Tessa saw. The brightness in her face dimmed before she could hide it. You can answer if you need to, she said. I don't. She's my sister. She's not going to disappear because we had tacos. I know. And my family is going to be unbearable. I know that too. She set her food down. Do you? Because they're already acting like I stole you off a shelf. You didn't steal me. No, but Lauren will make it sound that way. Tessa looked toward the river. She's good at sounding reasonable. I'm good at sounding dramatic. I hated how resigned she was when she said it. You don't sound dramatic to me. Her eyes returned to mine. You sound like someone who's tired of being edited by other people, I said. For a moment, she didn't speak. Then her face softened in a way that felt more intimate than kissing. That, she said quietly, is exactly it. The phone buzzed again. I turned it off and put it in my pocket. Tessa watched the movement. You don't have to fight my battles. I'm not. No? No, I'm choosing my date. The word hung there. Date. Her mouth curved slowly. Is that what this is? If you approve. I'm considering it. Take your time. She leaned across the picnic table, chin in her hand. I approve. I wanted to kiss her then, over salsa and paper napkins and the noise of traffic on the bridge. Instead, because I was trying not to rush her, I reached across the table and brushed a smear of sauce from the corner of her mouth with my thumb. Her breath. God. So did mine. That was very smooth, she whispered. It was either that or hand you a napkin. Terrible missed opportunity for chivalry. I'll recover. She caught my wrist before I could pull away and turned her face just enough to press a kiss to the inside of my thumb. It was small. It was devastating. Every sensible thought I had scattered into the river. After dinner, we walked along the paved path by the water. Tessa kept close enough that our shoulders bumped. The city softened around us, all gold light and summer noise. I used to be jealous of Lauren, she said suddenly. I glanced at her. Not because of you, she added quickly. Then she winced. Okay, maybe a little because of you, but not in a plotting way. more in a, of course, the perfect man chose the perfect sister way. I'm not perfect. I know, you use 2-in-1 shampoo. That was one time. That you confessed to. I laughed, but she didn't. She stopped near the railing. The river moved dark and shining below us. I never wanted to be part of hurting you, she said. You weren't. I still feel guilty. You kissed me after we were over. Her eyes lifted. You waited, I said. Even if you had feelings, you waited. That matters. Her shoulders dropped as if she had been holding up something heavy. I did have feelings, she admitted. Small ones at first, annoying ones. I buried them under sister loyalty and sarcasm. Effective tools. For a while. She looked at me with a bravery that made my chest tighten. Then you opened a towel for me like I was someone worth taking care of. And I realized they weren't small anymore. The river, the path, the whole evening seemed to pause. I stepped closer. Tessa, you don't have to say anything dramatic back. I'm going to anyway. Her lips parted. I spent months feeling like love was something I failed at, I said. Like if I had been easier, richer, sharper, whatever Lauren needed, maybe she would have stayed. Then you walked into my pool, terrified and making jokes, and somehow I felt more wanted in 1 hour than I had in the last year of my engagement. Her eyes shone. That's dramatic, she whispered. I warned you. She touched my shirt, fingers curling lightly in the fabric. Kiss me then. So I did. Not carefully this time. I kissed her beside the river with my hands at her waist and her arms sliding around my neck, and she rose onto her toes like she had been waiting all day to meet me there. The kiss was warm and certain, and full of all the things we weren't saying because saying them too soon might scare us both. When we broke apart, she stayed close. I'm still scared, she said. Of water? Of this. Me too. That's comforting and alarming. We'll go slow. She smiled. We kissed in public on the second day. Slow emotionally. Ah, technicality. My phone, dead in my pocket, could not ruin the moment. But Tessa's lit up. She glanced at the screen. Lauren, Mom knows you need to come home tonight. We're talking as a family. Tessa read it twice, then looked at me. Old fear crossed her face. This time she didn't apologize. She took my hand instead. I don't want to go alone, she said. And even though trouble was waiting, the way she reached for me felt like the real beginning. I drove Tessa to her mother's house with the radio off and her hand in mine. Every few minutes, her thumb moved over my knuckles like she was reminding herself I was real. Or maybe reminding me not to bolt. I wasn't going to. But I won't lie. Pulling up in front of the Whitaker house felt like driving back into a life that had rejected me, except this time I had the wrong sister beside me and no intention of apologizing for it. Tessa stared at the porch light. Last chance to fake food poisoning. I ate the same tacos as you. You could be delicate. I teach toddlers to blow bubbles. Nothing about me is delicate. She smiled, but it faded fast. I turned in my seat. We don't have to do this. Yes, we do. She looked at me. Not because they summoned me, because I'm tired of letting them decide which rooms I'm allowed to stand in. Something fierce moved through me. I lifted her hand and kissed her fingers. Then we stand. Her eyes softened. You make that sound easy. It won't be. No, but I'm with you. Tessa leaned across the console and kissed me once, slow and grounding. When she pulled back, some of the fear had left her face. Okay, she whispered. Let's go disappoint everyone. Inside, the living room looked exactly the same as I remembered. Pale furniture no one seemed allowed to relax on. Family photos arranged like evidence. Lauren stood by the fireplace, still in her work clothes. Her mother, Diane, sat on the sofa with a glass of white wine held like a verdict. Diane's eyes landed on our joined hands. Oh, Tessa! 2 words, somehow worse than shouting. Tessa's fingers tightened around mine, but her voice stayed steady. Hi, Mom. Lauren looked at me. You came. Tessa asked me to. Of course she did. I felt Tessa flinch. Not much. Enough. I said, careful. Lauren's eyes flashed. You don't get to come into my family home and warn me. No, Tessa said, surprising all of us. He gets to come because I invited him, and you don't get to talk about me like I'm not standing here. Diane sighed. This is exactly what I was afraid of. You're making this into a performance. Tessa laughed, but it broke in the middle. I'm making it into my life. Lauren folded her arms. You kissed my ex-fiancé. Yes. The room went still. Tessa lifted her chin. I did. Lauren looked almost wounded by the honesty. And you don't think that's wrong? I think it's complicated. That's convenient. I think you ended your engagement 8 months ago, Tessa said. I think Owen was not a sweater you lent me. I think you don't want him, but you don't want me to be wanted by him either. Lauren's face went pale. Diane set her wine down. That is enough. No, Tessa said. Her voice shook now, but she kept going. It's not. I have spent my whole life being told when I'm overreacting, when I'm embarrassing, when I'm selfish. I was scared to learn how to swim because I knew if I failed, Lauren would make a joke and you'd call it concern. Diane opened her mouth. Tessa didn't let her. And then Owen treated my fear like it mattered. Not like drama, not like a flaw, like something I could work through. She looked up at me and the room blurred around the edges. And I like him. I'm not sorry for that. My chest ached so hard it almost hurt. I stepped closer, not in front of her, beside her. I like her too, I said. Lauren stared at me. I had imagined seeing regret on her face 100 times after she left me. I thought it would heal something. It didn't. All I felt was Tessa's hand in mine. Lauren's voice dropped. Did you ever feel this way about her when we were together? No, I said. Tessa looked at me quickly. I squeezed her hand. I thought she was funny, I continued. Kind, braver than she knew, but I was with you, Lauren. I honored that. I took a breath. And when you ended us, I let you go. You don't get to come back now and turn my feelings into betrayal because they don't center you anymore. Lauren's eyes filled, which made it harder. Diane stood. Owen, perhaps it would be best if you left. Tessa's grip went slack for half a second, like old training had kicked in. I waited. This had to be her choice. She looked from her mother to her sister, then she reached for my hand again, deliberately this time. No, she said. We're leaving together. Outside, the night air felt mercifully warm. Tessa made it down the porch steps before her composure cracked. She pressed a hand over her mouth, breathing hard. I touched her elbow. Hey, I did it. She sounded stunned. I actually said it. You did. I think I'm going to throw up. Less romantic, but still valid. A laugh burst out of her, wet and shaky. Then she turned into me. I held her in the driveway beneath the yellow porch light while all the old ghosts watched from behind curtains. She buried her face against my chest and I rested my cheek on her damp hair from the river air, and nothing about it felt forbidden. It felt chosen. After a minute, she tipped her face up. You waited for me to decide. Yeah. Why? Because I don't want to rescue you into another cage. Her eyes searched mine. I want you beside me, I said. Not behind me. Not owing me. Beside me. Tessa rose on her toes and kissed me with a kind of tenderness that undid me more than heat would have. Her hand slid into my hair. Mine settled at her waist. For once, there was no panic in the way she held on. Just want, just trust. When the porch door opened behind us, we separated slowly. Lauren stood there, arms wrapped around herself. Tess, she said, quieter than before. Wait. Tessa's whole body tensed. I brushed my thumb along her waist, a silent question. She nodded once. Lauren came down 2 steps, stopping far enough away that it felt like effort. I was awful in there. Tessa blinked. Lauren swallowed. I don't know how to watch you get something I didn't know I'd lost. That's not your fault. Or Owen's. The apology was imperfect. Late. Still real enough to hurt. Tessa's voice softened. I didn't do this to punish you. I know. Lauren looked at me. I'm sorry I made you feel replaceable. The words landed somewhere old. I nodded. Thank you. Lauren wiped under one eye, embarrassed by herself. Mom's gonna need... longer? Tessa huffed a small laugh. Mom needs a team of specialists. For the first time that night, Lauren smiled. It didn't fix everything, but it opened a door. On the drive back, Tessa leaned her head against the window, exhausted. At a red light, she reached over and traced a water droplet drying on my forearm from the condensation on my cup. Can I tell you something embarrassing? She asked. Always. I'm still thinking about the pool. I glanced at her. The panic? No. Her cheeks colored. After. When I realized I was wrapped around you and didn't want to let go. The light turned green. I forgot how gas pedals worked. Tessa laughed softly. Coach? Trying not to crash. Good. Safety first. I pulled into the community center parking lot instead of taking her home. The pool was closed, dark behind the glass, the water glowing faint blue from the underwater lights. We sat on the hood of my truck, shoulders touching, looking in. One more lesson tomorrow? I asked. She rested her head on my shoulder. Yes. You sure? I'm sure. Her fingers found mine. I don't want fear deciding for me anymore. And us? She lifted her head. I looked at her fully. I don't want guilt deciding for us either. Tessa's smile was small, brave, and bright. Then ask me properly. My heart kicked. Tessa Whitaker, I said, will you go on another date with me, keep letting me teach you to swim, and consider causing a moderate family scandal as my girlfriend? She pretended to think. Moderate? Occasionally severe. Then yes. I kissed her under the empty pool lights, her laugh warm against my mouth. For that one suspended moment, everything felt possible. Then my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. A photo loaded slowly. Me and Tessa in the driveway kissing. Below it, this going public tomorrow. Tessa saw it. Her smile vanished. I stared at the photo on my phone. Me holding Tessa in her mother's driveway, her hands in my hair, my mouth on hers. A private moment stolen by someone hiding in the dark. Tessa went very still beside me. For 1 second, I felt the old instinct rise, manage it, fix it, protect everyone from consequences. Then Tessa took the phone from my hand and looked at the message again. This going public tomorrow, she read softly. I touched her knee. Hey, look at me. She did, but her face had gone pale. We don't have to be scared of a picture of us telling the truth, I said. Her laugh was small and shaken. That sounds like something a man says before being murdered by a group chat. Probably. Owen. I know. I shifted closer on the hood of the truck. It's ugly, it's invasive, but I'm not ashamed of kissing you. Her eyes searched mine. I held the look because she had asked me not to make her feel like a mistake, and this was the moment that promise mattered. I'm not ashamed of wanting you, I said. Not privately, not publicly, not if your mother sees, not if Lauren sees, not if the whole town suddenly develops an interest in my romantic life. Tessa's mouth trembled before she managed, Your romantic life is very educational. Adult swim lessons are unpredictable. She looked back at the photo. Who would do this? I don't know. But I had a guess. It wasn't Lauren, not after that apology. Maybe I was naive, but I didn't think she'd step out onto the porch, try to mend a bridge, then hide behind a phone. Tessa exhaled. My mother has friends who think privacy is a character flaw. Do you want to respond? Her shoulders lifted, then fell. No, she said. I want to decide before someone decides for me. She opened her own phone. Her thumb hovered over the screen. What are you doing? I asked. Posting first? Tessa. She looked at me, fierce and frightened and gorgeous under the pool lights. Not a statement, not a defense, just us. She chose a picture we'd taken by the river earlier, one where we were both laughing over tacos, my shoulder pressed to hers. She typed a caption, showed it to me. Learning to swim. Learning not to apologize for joy. My chest tightened. You sure? No, she smiled. But I'm doing it anyway. She posted it. Then she turned her phone off, set it face down on the hood, and kissed me like she was sealing a door behind us. Not hiding, not asking permission, choosing. The next morning was messy. Diane called Tessa 17 times. Lauren called once, not to yell, but to say, Mom is being dramatic. I'm handling Aunt Patrice. Apparently, Aunt Patrice had been the photographer, a woman with porch plants, binoculars, and no hobbies healthy enough to mention. By noon, half the family knew. By dinner, the other half had opinions, but the world did not end. Tessa still came to her swim lesson. She arrived in a red one-piece, sunglasses in her hair, chin high. "How's the scandal?" I asked. "Moderate to severe." "As promised. My cousin called you the pool boy." "I own two whistles, that's insulting." She laughed, and the sound loosened the last knot in me. That evening, we went back into the water. This time, when we reached the slope, she looked at me and said, "Don't let me grab you." I thought grabbing me was how this started. "Don't be charming, I'm trying to grow." "Yes, ma'am." She pushed off, 3 feet, then 5, then 10. Her strokes were uneven and she swallowed water once, but she didn't panic. She kept kicking, kept breathing. When she reached me, she slapped both hands against my chest and shouted, "I did it!" "You did." "I swam." "You swam." Then she wrapped her arms around my neck again. This time, her feet didn't scramble for purchase. Her legs didn't lock around me in fear. She floated there because she wanted to be close. I held her waist, grinning like a fool. Very advanced technique. Shut up and kiss your best student. So I did, in the shallow blue glow of the pool, while the lifeguard on duty groaned, "Please don't make me file paperwork." Tessa laughed against my mouth. That was when I knew we'd be okay. Not because everyone approved. They didn't. Not because Lauren became my best friend. She didn't. But she and Tessa started having coffee once a month, awkwardly at first, then honestly. Diane took longer. She apologized in installments, usually disguised as invitations to dinner. Tessa learned to stop accepting half apologies as full ones. I learned that choosing someone wasn't a single brave speech. It was daily, in texts, in family rooms, in crowded restaurants, in the quiet, second before reaching for her hand. 6 months later, Tessa swam across the deep end without me. She climbed out of the pool, shaking with adrenaline, water streaming down her face, and pointed at me. "Do not say anxious otter." "I would never." "You were about to." "Majestic otter." She threw her towel at me. By the following spring, we rented a tiny apartment 2 blocks from the river. She painted at the kitchen table in old t-shirts, and I learned the difference between cerulean and cobalt because love, apparently, meant having strong opinions about blue. On weekends, we took walks past the taco truck. Sometimes we ate on the same bench where she had kissed my thumb. Sometimes we argued about cilantro, sometimes we just sat with our knees touching, peaceful in a way I once thought wasn't meant for me. And that summer, at her friend's lake cabin, Tessa walked down the dock in a yellow swimsuit, looked back at me, and grinned. "Coach," she called, "watch this." Then she jumped. For half a second, she vanished beneath the glittering surface. My heart still jumped with her. Then she came up laughing, hair slicked back, water shining on her cheeks, completely alive. She swam to me, not frantic, not afraid. And when she reached the ladder, she didn't climb out. She hooked one finger in the front of my shirt and pulled me down until our foreheads touched. "Remember when I couldn't touch bottom?" she whispered. "I remember." "I'm still glad I grabbed you." I smiled. "Me too." She kissed me there, waist deep in lake water, with sunlight all around us and no one we loved looking away. What would you have done if your ex's sibling panicked during a swim lesson, wrapped their legs around you, and you realized the connection was anything but accidental? Have you ever experienced something similar where the wrong person by family rules felt like the right person in your heart? Tell your story in the comments. And for those who'd like to be a little closer to us, we've opened memberships where you'll get shorter, exclusive stories every week with no ads. If you like this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.